that you're all doing well. Hopefully your families are all fine and healthy. Yesterday what we did was we worked with surface area of a pyramid. What we're going to do today is we're going to end up working with volume of a pyramid. And again, just so you always remember, whenever you're dealing with surface area, you're always talking about how much is on the outside of a three-dimensional figure. And when we're talking about volume of a figure, we're always talking about how much is on the inside. So we're dealing with a pyramid, right? And whenever you're dealing with a pyramid, always the faces are always triangles, right? And so then you have this, you also have the dotted lines to represent the part that you can't see. And the other day, it was a little bit more complicated where you were trying to find the surface area by applying the complex formula. Surface area is equal to base plus the half PL, right? Today it's going to be a lot easier because when we're dealing with volume of a pyramid, you're dealing with what's on the inside. And what's on the inside of a pyramid, let me just show you, has to do with a rectangular prism. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So when we were actually working with a rectangular prism, there was a formula to find the volume of a rectangular prism, which was length times width times height, right? And if you want to look at it too, this is the length, right? That's the width, and that was the height. And if you want to even analyze the formula more, whenever you do length times width, it gives you the area of that, right? The base gives you the area of the base. And so instead of saying length times width, it's the same thing as saying the area of the base times height, right? That's what a volume of a rectangular prism is. What the volume of a pyramid is, it's going to look like this. And again, we'll explain it and then we'll go over how to actually use it. The formula, whenever you want to find the volume of a pyramid, it's a third of the area of the base times height. So now if you look at it, formula for finding the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height, or the same thing as saying area of the base times height, right? Looks the same. The reason that we now have a third, and that's the formula for volume of a pyramid, is because this is a third of a rectangular prism with the same measurements. And what I mean by that is if you were to fill up this rectangular prism with this pyramid, as long as all the measurements are the same, it would take 3 pyramids to fill up one prism, right? It would take 3 pyramids to fill up one rectangular prism. And because of that, since it takes 3 of these to fill that up, this is 3 times smaller than that. So if this is 3 times smaller than that, that's why we have a third, because a third means it's literally a third, 3 times smaller than this. So that's where the third comes from. And then area of the base times height, it's the same way as looking length times width times height. Because when you do length times width, it gives you the area of a rectangle area. Again, just wanted to show you where that's coming from. And what we're going to do today is we're actually going to be calculating volume of a pyramid. So whenever we're trying to find the volume of a rectangular pyramid, we need to know 2 things. We need to know the area of the base, right? So B is going to represent area of the base, right? It's area of the base. And H represents height, right? We've been dealing with height for all year now. So whenever we're finding height, we know that the height is always a length that goes straight, right? And since it goes straight, you know that you're always going to have a right angle there. And that's why that's there. It's to show you that that represents a height, right? So this is our height, right? And then area of the base is exactly that. It's the area of, let me draw a different color. The area of the base represents the area of the base of this actual figure, which in this case, and in the example that we're going to be working with, is a rectangle. So whenever you're trying to find the area of the rectangle, always remember the formula is length times width, right? So if you want to find the area of a rectangle or the base, it would be length times width in this case, right? Just that. Call it length times width, you can call it base times height, all the same thing. But for this example, we'll use length times width. And that's all you have to do. The hardest part of this is finding the area of the base, which in this case is a rectangle, so it'll be length times width, right? And the height is always what they're going to give you. So let's try this actually out, and then I'll tell you how to actually deal with the third. But I'll show you how simple this is, especially in comparison to the formula that we worked with the other day in terms of finding surface area. So again, you have a pyramid, right? And two things I'm going to give you, three things actually. I have to give you the length, right? I have to give you the width to find the base, and then I also have to give you a height. So over here, let's say that the height is, I'll draw this here just for it to be easier to see. Let's say that the height is 5 centimeters, right? And now let's say that this over here is 3 centimeters, and let's say that this here is 2 centimeters. So we have our measurements, and now let's figure out what we can do with it. So we have our figure, right? We have our formula. We know that the height is 5, right? So that's easy, height's 5. Now in order to find the area of the base, if we want to find the area of the base, since it's a rectangle, again, you have this rectangle down here, and whenever you want to find the area of a rectangle, you would do length times width, right? In this case, you have the length, which is 3, and you have the width, which is 2. So all we would do would be length is 3 times width, which is 2. And 3 times 2 gives you 6. So we know that the base is 6, right? We know that the height is 5. So now, let me even just write it here, just so we can keep it fresh. We know that the base is 6, and we know that the height is 5. And again, the way we found the base is, since it's a rectangle, area of a rectangle is length times width. So we did 3 times 2, which is 6. So now once we have this, now it's just substituting here, right? To find the volume, it's going to end up being a third, right? So we have the third. We know that the area of the base is 6. And we know that the height is 5. And once you have that, first thing we can do, again, if you want to multiply all 3 at once, you could. If you want to multiply these 2 terms, which most of you would be more comfortable with, feel free to do that as well. Just want to show you again. Third stayed the same. Area of the base was 6, which we did by doing length times width. And the height was 5, which we were given from the beginning. So now once you have this, again, let's multiply these terms. We know that 6 times 5 is going to give us 30. So let's bring down the third. And again, we said 6 times 5 was 30. So we have that. And now the last step we have to do is we want to figure out a third of 30. And always remember, whenever you're trying to find a third of 30, you're saying that it's 3 times smaller. So if you're looking for a third of 30, it's the same thing as saying 30 divided by 3. And we know that 30 divided by 3 is 10. Just that. Because whenever you're trying to find a third of 30, same thing as dividing by 3. If you were looking for a half of 30, it's the same thing as saying 30 divided by 2. In this case, since it's a third, 30 divided by 3 gives us 10. We know that it's centimeters, and since we're dealing with volume, volume is always cubed. And that's it. That's all it is to find the volume of a pyramid. Once you find the area of the base, it becomes so much easier. And again, since it's volume, it's cubed, as opposed to surface area, which is squared. And once you have the third, just divide by 3. Let's try another one, just to make sure that you guys actually feel comfortable with this. But always remember, whenever you're finding volume, volume is always what's on the inside of a figure. Surface area is what's always on the outside. And the third just comes from us comparing it to a rectangular prism because it's 3 times smaller. So now we have another pyramid, right? And we're going to end up wanting to find the volume of this pyramid. We have that there. We have the bottom portion of the pyramid. Right? And then we need a height. And then we need a length and a width. So in this case, let's say that the height is 9 feet. Right? Let's say that the length is, let's say, 7 feet. Now let's say that the width is 4 feet. Let's do 3 feet. Just makes things a lot more easier. Let's do 3 feet. So again, we know that the height is 9. We know that the length is 7. We know that the width is 3. And we have our formula, which again pyramid, which is a third area of the base times height. And let's find what we need to know. So the height's easy. The height is 9, right? Because we know that whenever it has a right angle, it's always a straight line. So the height is 9. To figure out the area of the base, again, you're dealing with a rectangle. And whenever you're dealing with a rectangle, it's always length times width, right? That's the length, that's the width. Area of a rectangle is always length times width. So in this case, it would be 7, the length, times 3, the width. And all I did was I substituted the length as 7, and the width is 3. And now we know 7 times 3 is 21. So we know that the base is 21. Let's write this over here. We know that the base is 21, right? We know that the height is 9. So we have that here, right? Just to help us out. And now once you have that, let's just substitute it into our formula, right? So we have our formula, a third of the area of the base times height. So we're gonna have a third times the base, area of the base, which is 21, times the height, which is gonna end up being 9. 9 is the height. So we have that formula there. We know that the third stayed the same. We know that the area of the base is 21. We know that the height is 9. And now once you have that, before you deal with the third, you're gonna end up multiplying 21 times 9 just to make your lives a lot easier. So let's bring down the third. And we know that 21 times 9 is gonna end up giving us 189. And all I did was I just did 21 times 9, which gave us 189. And now the last step is finding a third of 189. And whenever you want to find a third of 189, it's the same thing as saying again. 189 divided by 3, just to make everything a lot easier. And we know that 189 divided by 3 is going to end up giving us 63. And again, just so you see, we found a third of 189, which means we did 189 divided by 3, which gave us 63. So once we have that, that's our answer. A third of 189 is 63. We know that the unit is feet. And we know that since we're dealing with volume, it's going to end up being cubed. 63 feet cubed. And again, 63 feet cubed represents how much is on the inside of that pyramid. And since we're not dealing with surface area, which is the outside, we're looking for volume, what's on the inside. Always remember the difference between those two. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Let me know if you guys are struggling with anything. Anything you need, always here. Hope you guys are doing well. Take care, guys.